Welcome to 360 Success. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Knight. Today, we're going to talk about something none of us like. I call it the Law of Retraction. Have you ever felt like everything that you want to do or have tried to do to move forward is difficult or is met with some type of resistance? Have you ever felt that? Look, life is hard, but it is harder when you're trying to do something significant, something that makes a difference. Bishop Sandy Miller out of the UK says, no blessing goes uncontested. And I want to tell you, that's on if you're on the giving side or the receiving side sometimes. John Eldredge says this, you were meant for more. You were meant for more, and you know it because the life that you live doesn't match the longing that's in your heart. Why is that? Why is this life that we're living not matching up with this longing that we have in our heart? One of my favorite scriptures says, there's a thief that comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that you might have abundant life or life to the full. See, that what that says is you were meant for a life of abundance or fullness, but this life is opposed. That life is opposed. Because why else would those two things be put together? I've come for this, but I've come for this abundance and fullness, but there's a thief that's going to steal, kill, and destroy. That's going to try to destroy it. Well, let me tell you a story. I stopped by the hospital one day to see my grandmother. She was 87 years old. She had a respiratory infection. And I got there and she was in radiology getting a chest CT done. And as I'm standing outside talking to my cousin, they pull her around the corner. She comes around the corner on a gurney with an attendant, and she is fighting and flailing all over this bed, this frail little 87-year-old lady. And the guy just kind of chuckled and said, boy, she sure is a feisty one. Well, I immediately recognized this look of distress. He can't see your face. I can see your face. And I'm like, she cannot breathe. And so we grab the gurney, we rush her into the room. My cousin grabs the oxygen mask. We crank it up to 15 liters. And I'm holding it on her mouth, over her mouth and her nose. And let me tell you something. This 87-year-old is clawing me. She's slapping at me. She is scratching. She's panicked, absolute panic. And I am just in her ear. I'm saying, Grandma, please, it's me. It's Ryan. Please just try to breathe. I know you're panicking, but this oxygen is what's going to help you. This will save you. Please just focus on breathing. And she finally calmed down about the time the nurses came in and took over. But as my adrenaline started to calm down and I came down from that, I started to reflect on the fact that she was fighting the very thing that would save her. The very thing that was her only hope, she was fighting against. And as I reflected further on it, I thought, how often in life I must have fought against the very things and the very people God sent into my life to bring me that abundant life He intended for me. But they pushed against me, it felt like. They challenged me. But you see, the reason was to make me better, to make me stronger. Have you heard the saying that the strength to climb the mountain is developed in the valley? The strength and endurance to climb the summit is developed in the valley? Sometimes the very people that God puts into your life are there to strengthen you and just make you stronger. Sometimes you feel like God or life is just pushing you backwards. I call that the law of retraction. I want you to think about this. Picture a bow and arrow, if you will. I wish I had one with me today to demonstrate those of you that are watching on video. Let's picture a long bow. It's a curved bow and it's got a string on either end, or it's tied to either end. It's got these points of connection, right? That it pulls against those points to build tension. And as it's drawn back and it's pulled back further and further and builds more tension, it's getting more potential. So the further it's pushed back, the further it's drawn back or down, It's building more potential to fly further. See, there are times in life where you're going to feel like you're being pushed down or pulled backwards. The question is, what or who help hold you? Who are the anchors that God's put around you? Who are the anchors, or what are you tying yourself to? Or who are you tying yourself with to anchor yourself in order to withstand the pressure and the tension? The bigger the tension, the further we fly. One thing I want to point out when I said who you're tying yourself with, the longbow, those strings that they use on those are not a single cord. They're not a single strand. A longbow has a minimum of 14 strands because it's the numbers together that make it strong. Otherwise, if it was a single strand, it would break under the tension. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with the right people and the right tribe. So the bigger the tension, the further we fly. But who are we anchoring ourselves to? First and foremost, God. Secondly, our friends and family. For me, it's my spouse, Amy, because the tension will get high. And you want the people that align with you, with your core values, but are willing to challenge you under tension. See, the law of retraction requires moving backwards until you are released towards your destiny. Sometimes we got to go back in order to go forward or to go up. Think about this. Have you heard of or seen the Chinese bamboo trees? Did you know those things take 5 years to grow? But over those 5 years, it has to be watered. It has to be fertilized where it was planted in the ground. Every day, it requires water, nutrients, food for 5 years. Now, a lot of us would just give up and go, well, this thing must be dead. The roots must be dead. But they're not. You see, once it breaks the ground, once that giant bamboo breaks the ground, it will grow 90 feet in 5 weeks. You see, during all that time, it was building deep roots to be able to sustain and maintain massive growth and height, bigger than most people ever think, but it took longer than most people were willing to wait. Don't get discouraged when you see the highlight reels on social media of what other people are doing, and if you feel behind. Remember, like I said, the mountaintops inspire us, but the valley is what matures us and grows us. You want to focus on the God-given mission and direction you're supposed to be headed. Surround yourself with those who can take the tension, who can take the pressure, and then get ready to fly. Never give up on your dream. Hold on to it to the same intensity that I was holding on to that oxygen mask on my grandmother's face. See, she was fighting me with everything she had, but I was fighting for her life. Because if I failed, we both lost. Your tribe matters. Who you surround yourself with matters. And so today, remember the law of retraction. Just because things are resisting you, just because things feel like they're pushing you back and you feel like you're losing ground, that may just be God drawing you back so that he can launch you further than you ever dreamed or you ever imagined. That's all I've got for today. I'll see you next week.